Karen Can here with another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. Today I'm probably going to seem a little bit more low-key. A friend of mine died suddenly yesterday, and it was very shocking to all of us who knew her because she seemed so full of life. And, I can totally see how death can help people become closer to each other, treat each other well, an opportunity to give and receive love and care. It's still difficult no matter, who it happens to. And I know that, the last year or so has been a lot of sudden deaths, both young people and older people. I know it doesn't make it any easier just knowing that's going to happen. Does it surprise me? No, but that doesn't mean it, makes it any easier. But it does, of course, help to remind us that every minute of our human lives are absolutely precious. And don't waste it by holding on to anything that doesn't serve you, old grudges, relationships that haven't healed over. I mean, it is the era of choice, and it is the era of true authenticity. So if there is any little tiny thing that you're holding back, that you're not saying, that you feel bad about, you want forgiveness for, or whatever, it's time to heal that wound, even if it's teeny, teeny, tiny. We just can't really afford to put energy into it. So speaking of energy, some folks are still leaking energies, not just to the alternate multiverse, but other arenas. Sometimes there's imbalances causing you to still leak energy. It hasn't been as bad this week after putting the plug in. Using the upgrades for the Essential 1 and 2s, and people that I work with on a regular basis, they're no longer leaking energy huge amounts. So that's cool. Excuse me. So the other question that's come up is, can issues in our alternate lives in the multiverse cause us to be physically sick or look sick in this timeline? And the answer is absolutely yes. Can it kill you? I'm not sure if it can kill you. I suppose if there were multiple versions of you with a death wish, suicidal, whatever, it's possible. You may have some weird stuff going on that might cause you to have accidents and things like that. If a lot of you have entity-related issues in the multiverse, that could affect you in this lifetime as well. And one of the things I like to do is make you invisible to entities. Excuse me. So you can tell I'm more tired today. So ask if you are permitted by Source and your higher self, or Source if you want to just go with Source, whether or not you're able to be made invisible and undetectable to entities in your all your multiverse lives. Usually it's not a yes for all of them, but then that's what proportion. It could be 50%, it could be 80%, and then just command that all those lives that can be made invisible and undetectable to entities be done now. And then recheck. So you may not get permission to be undetectable to entities in this timeline because your soul's mission may include something related to entities. So it's not a big deal, but you can lessen the stress to yourself by healing the alternate versions of yourself. So every morning lately I've been checking my alternate versions, how many have autoimmunity or joint issues or fascial issues or lymphatic swelling or constipation issues or ileocecal valve issues, whatever it is that, detox issues, whatever symptoms that I'm having, even if it's very slight. And usually there's one or two. And there may be many layers of healing to be done, so you may not be able to do it all in one setting. So you might check it the next day and the next day and next day. But I do notice a big shift of how my niggly symptoms, like this weirdo knee pain that occurred, a year ago after my first soul merger, it just was just hanging on and hanging on. It wasn't bad, and it would get better with, the healing tools, but there was something I was missing, and what I was missing was this alternate versions of ourselves that we need to heal. So also recheck your relationships with your alternate selves, make sure it's 100% healthy, as well as those boundaries. You might even check if you have a boundary issue, you're an empath, you might want to check how many other empaths in the multiverse can I decommission Okay, do I have permission? You may want to check, how many versions of myself in the multiverse have, unhealthy boundary issues, and heal that. And sometimes all you need to do is command. It's now commanded that all of my multiverse lives with boundary issues and imbalances be completely healed now with ease and grace, and then you're done. Just the God team does everything, and then you can just recheck. That your job is just to recheck things before and after. So says my friend Jenny now. And you let the God team do most of the work. Occasionally, some of us do need to know more details because that's part of our soul's purpose. But for those of us that it's not necessary. You can even ask how many versions of me in the multiverse have to know what's going on before it's healed, and it's unnecessary, and then heal that. Just command that healed too. So the other thing too is, given the wacky weather, of course, I did weather magic a little on the late side, but I'm still trying. So it's snowing like crazy right now, and we're trying to clear it up so our friends, family can fly in safely for, obviously, to make arrangements and things like that. So Gaia, the Mother Earth weather, can be affected by alternate timelines Gaias as well. So it's not just humans, it's not just, beings like us, but if, and in this case, there was entity interference in an alternate universe related to weather of Mother Earth, it is possible for us to manifest that weather here in this reality. I know it's weird, but I'm just a messenger, just telling you what I'm getting. So, yesterday I was feeling, actually pretty good, pretty energetic all day long, despite, the so-called bad news and everything. And then when I came home, it was like suddenly I felt that energy sucker, just all of a sudden kind of tired. And before going to bed, I checked in and I thought, okay, it might be weather related. It was, but what it was I was sensing the entity interference on another Earth, on another, so-called parallel universe, and cleared that, and that was helpful. So, these things can happen. I don't understand why they happen, but just giving you some hints and some things that you can do to help heal other parts of your life. The other interesting thing that came up last week was that, I really thought that when higher vibrational souls merge with you, that these are pre-planned, and for the most part they were prior to conception. But in this one case, it was not. And I was like, double checking, triple checking. And I guess the issue was this high vibrational soul from an alternate universe. I can't remember exactly whether it's future him or, alternate universe. Anyway, that there was a decision made on the fly that it would be for the highest good to merge this higher vibrational soul of this particular person that I was working with. Why? Because she felt did not, that he hadn't stepped fully into his soul's mission, and they just wanted to encourage him to do that ASAP, not waste any more time. So with this particular person, he started having symptoms related to food allergies and things like that. And when we asked whether we could heal them, and normally 99% I get a yes, I got a no in his case. And it was like this other personality and source was like, nope, not going to make your life any easier. You're going to have to, toe the line and be strict and and I was like, okay. So that was unusual. So I want to share that with you, that it is possible, I guess, to have soul mergers that are not planned. That is also for the highest good. I call them soul mergers on the fly. The last thing two last things I wanted to share with you is if you did the mass clearing, you can continue doing mass clearing every week for whatever no longer serves you in any of the multiverse lives. At first, you might get 30 or 40%. If you did not do the mass clearing with me on February 28th with From Heartache to Joy, but if you did, then oftentimes you'll just have 10 or less % to clear, and that's what no longer serves you now, since the time you did the mass clearing. So you can go ahead and do that first thing of the day if you want, and then you'll have less lives to, worry about or clear in various different, symptoms. But what was really interesting is I found that those people that aren't mass clearing like this are mass clearing in their own way, and what happens is that they might look like they have the flu. So I've measured a couple people where they're like healing like 5 or 8 infections all at once. These are really super old infections, sometimes new ones, but oftentimes they're really old infections that did not occur recently, but it looks like they did. And they look like they have the flu. But there's like 8 infections, 7 infections, 5 infections, all healing at once at the same time. So that's their version of mass clearing, and they're getting mass detox, symptoms from it. But I do find that those that have been doing the mass clearing, since the 28th when we introduced it, and have been doing that regularly, don't have that much to clear anymore. So 5 to 10%, and so far they haven't had the flu thing. So I think that's an interesting synchronicity. So check it out, see if that resonates with you. Okay, so I think this is the last thing. The other thing we're being asked to do is discernment. So discernment of what really serves us and what is true source and what is not, and what is true love and what is not. And this is really quite challenging unless you have, unless you're very, very connected to source, because even, very experienced healers have been tripped up by this. For example, there have been, healers who are maybe very famous, have a best-selling book, maybe they're intuitives, maybe they're mediums, maybe they are psychics, whatever it is, and they may have a big name for themselves. And originally, when they started up and they were clairvoyant as a child, their life score might have been very high. And then during lifetime, there is sometimes they become a target of entities and target of ETs with entities attached that can seem very persuasive, because if they're already clairvoyant and now they're talking to an extraterrestrial who clearly they can hear and clearly seems to be giving really kind of cool advice, then it's really easy to actually kind of forget about connecting fully to source and having source be your main guide, because your other guides may or may not be fully aligned with source. They have multiple different life scores, they have multiple different opinions, and when I was talking to Diana Cushionbuck, my healer friend, she says, you know what, I'd rather just get my information from source because that's the purest. So you just need to be careful and discern and see how that feels. Your intuitive system will tell you it doesn't feel good to you. On the other hand, if you yourself are being attacked or swayed by leading energies, then if you don't feel good in relationship to someone else who's supposed to be a highlight score, then it's very possible that that feeling is then reflected back at you because you're the one with the leading energy. I know it's very confusing. So the most important thing is to intend to connect fully with source. And so you really have to, practice being real, authentic, telling the truth. Even if it's a tiny little white lie, you know what, sometimes it's probably not tolerable right now. You're just going to get bad feedback for that kind of stuff. So try not to do it. So I like to say, it is now commanded that you and I, whoever it is I'm working with, be 100% fully connected to the one and only source and all versions of us. And you can also say what my friend Tamara Joy says and intends, which is now that I ask that heaven come to earth through me. And I often say, heaven to come to earth through us if I'm working with someone. And oftentimes I'm working with healers as well. So there are some hints for you there. So beware of the false light, especially the extraterrestrial ones. They can look really, really, really good, and it sounds good. It seems to make sense, the advice, but always check it with source to see if it is the most light information, the purest. And one of the things you can do is just ask it, are you pure love? And usually if it's entity ridden or inside, there's entities, then you'll get a no for that. So you can always double check there. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. Hopefully we'll, figure out all this crazy weather stuff. And it's like having to do weather magic for multiverse lives now. Oh my goodness. Anyway, all right, take care. I love you all. Bye for now. And thanks everyone for your support to help me with weather magic and also sending love and healing to my friends. Thank you.